A $2,000 piece of hardware made of cheap electronics is successfully taking out a $300 million advanced radar system. Why is the United States pouring billions of dollars and risking a global conflict to fight an enemy over a patch of desert thousands of miles away? The standard explanation is usually framed as a clash of ideologies, a battle to spread democracy, combat religious extremism, or root out terrorism. But strip away the political talking points, and you find a very different motive. Every missile fired and every carrier deployed is a defense mechanism built to protect a specific financial arrangement struck in 1974, a system known as the petrodollar. Success for Iran means a global reconsideration of the dollar's role, shifting the financial foundations established 50 years ago. This image of Richard Nixon marks the moment in August 1971 when the president severed the US dollar from the gold standard. Without physical gold backing it, international trust in the currency dropped, and the US needed a new way to force the rest of the world to hold American dollars. They found the replacement for gold in oil. In 1974, the U.S. approached Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states with an unusual proposition. The Gulf states would agree to sell their massive oil reserves exclusively in U.S. dollars. If any country wanted energy, they had to buy dollars first. The Gulf nations would then take those dollar profits and reinvest them into U.S. Treasury bonds, effectively funding the American economy. In return for cementing this global demand for the dollar, the United States military guaranteed the physical protection of the Gulf's ruling royal families. For years, Iran was a compliant gear inside this machine, under the rule of the US-backed Shah. This massive scale of protest represents the 1979 Islamic Revolution, an uprising that swept the Shah out of power and established an anti-American government. Almost overnight, one of the top oil-producing nations on Earth was operating completely outside the US-controlled dollar loop. History suggests that those who threaten to sell oil outside the dollar system often face direct US intervention. When Saddam Hussein attempted to trade Iraqi oil in euros, the US military dismantled his regime. Watching Iraq fall, Iran's leadership concluded that the only way to avoid regime change and ensure their own survival was to build a nuclear deterrent. Knowing they could never match the US in a direct conventional war, Iran opted for an asymmetric approach, an attempt to attack the petrodollar engine itself. They began funding proxy militias and building swarms of cheap drones to strike at the vulnerabilities of US allies. These targets include Saudi oil fields and the desalination plants that the Gulf states rely on to generate 60% of their drinking water. This technical view of the Zagros Mountains shows why Iran is so difficult to strike back against. These mountains act as a physical shield, allowing Iran to hide its missile silos and drone bases deep underground. By launching strikes from these mountains, Iran is demonstrating to the Gulf nations that American military bases cannot actually protect their critical infrastructure. If the U.S. cannot provide the physical security it promised in 1974, the foundation of the petrodollar deal disappears. The U.S. is now caught in a tactical trap. You cannot simply invade and occupy Iran. It is 4 times the size of Iraq, and the sheer scale of the geography makes traditional regime change impossible. Even targeted assassinations are ineffective. Iran employs the Mosaic Doctrine, having decentralized its military command into 31 distinct provincial units. If the top leadership in Tehran is wiped out, each regional commander takes over autonomously. Iran's most potent geographic lever is shown in this highlighted area, the Strait of Hormuz. It is a tiny stretch of water with a navigable channel of just 9 to 10 kilometers. Through this narrow bottleneck flows 20